Everybody, welcome to the, I totally forgot the date, meeting for October 22nd, 2018. Yeah, we didn't meet last week. I know we're meeting this week. Yeah, so I guess to kick things off, at least for myself, I've been working on a storage package for the automatic version control and other stuff that lives at Bookstore, which if anybody knows, that used to be the name of a package for storage of notebooks on OpenStack. But since I don't maintain that anymore, and I don't think anybody's using it based on the PyPI stats, I've hijacked the package name. So nteract Bookstore is a thing. But it hasn't been published. I'm going to actually deprecate the old one. But yeah, that's coming along pretty well. It backs up to S3 on save. And then yeah, trying to get a new release out for the desktop. We had enough fixes go in and different things go in, and James was asking for it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and get it out. And then, because we ran into some issues on Saturday, I was going to publish last night, but due to the GitHub outage, that was not happening. So I gave up and just, hung out, had fun last night. Yeah, and continued course for me this week is I'm going to actually get the release out today. And then I'll be continuing to work on Bookstore. And then I'll be talking to folks at Netflix about scheduling. So hopefully I can expose an API that like all people can use, but we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, and that's about it for me. Hey, and Carol's here too, and Michelle.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, how is everybody? Cool.
Good. Yeah, normally I drop an agenda thing in the doc and then I take notes, but I ran a little late. But yeah. That's it. Matt was going to create Scrapbook last night. The GitHub stuff has kind of underpowered everyone.
It was there. You just couldn't see it, unfortunately. But it's there now. It loaded up. I just started.
Yeah, it's still pretty flaky. I tried to file an issue before and it said I wasn't logged in, even though I was logged in, and yeah. Not good.
Yeah. I don't feel happy for them. I like that they said that they're working to resolve, they're trying to validate the current like storage and stuff. I don't remember the exact word. And I was like, oh good, because I was really worried about like validating whether or not I had actually finished reviewing any pull requests or like closing issues or anything last night. I was just like, I'll just close all my tabs. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have an agenda? I know you said when I came on, you didn't put it together. Is there normally a standing agenda? Maybe.
I basically put in a Google Doc and then I put in what I want to talk about and communicate to folks.
And where is the Google Doc? I'm
like literally making it now.
Oh, I didn't know if it was the same one each week. Never mind.
That would make it way more convenient. I'm gonna consider that and start it today, thanks to you, Carol.
Oh, sweet. And then I'll throw it in the meeting minute file folder.
Okay, cool.
For the repos once GitHub is back.
Nteract meeting minutes. Cool, that's great. Share. Edit. I will post it in the Slack channel for a weekly meeting. And nteract.io got released, as in the website, in the last couple days, which is great because we can now start making other changes. It was like a big refactor to get it off of Sass and onto styled components. The bulk of that work was John Detlefs, who is also giving a talk on nteract in Austin tomorrow. I sent him some stickers, so he will go represent all of us there.
On that topic, I think I'm going to be doing a talk on some of the nteract stuff on the data pipeline blog or podcast tomorrow. So I'll talk some about Papermill there.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And I think the other big news in the project, I don't know if you've heard, Matt, nor will it necessarily make sense. We're jumping off of FlowType and onto TypeScript.
Yeah, Lucas was talking about it before he joined the call. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I like TypeScript.
Yeah, me too. I hit a lot of pain with the flow typings of RxJS and Redux and spent way too much time like trying to fix them up. But yeah, I think TypeScript is a good choice. Yeah, it's definitely better supported.
Yeah. Min asked me what was going on after I said that we were doing that MinRK in Jupyter lands. It's like, no. He thought we were going to be the last holdout. And eventually we're like, we like typing. We'll just go to TypeScript. It's okay. Cool. I don't have anything major beyond that, so.
Yeah, I guess there were a few minor things I was trying to figure out. Like, I should probably dig deeper into that IPython kernel thing we were seeing.
Oh, right. The paper mill flakiness issue where it was like language info isn't set.
I think me and M have a growing theory that it's actually in the latest IPython release causing issues in the kernel.
Yeah.
I probably should go figure out exactly where it's going wrong and maybe get Matthias involved or Min and go find a fix.
Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of IPython bugs come up in the last so often. It seems like we need to try pushing out more integration tests somehow.
Yeah.
And get those running in open source so they're seen like well in advance of publish time. I think it's hard once Jupyter split to lots of different repos.
It is.
Yeah.
There isn't at least I'm not aware of a good Jupyter integration test space that runs before releases.
Yeah, no, there's definitely not.
Nope, there isn't one. And I think the latest IPython release had more issues than normal with the async stuff that got added. So.
Yeah, I was going to do a release of Papermill to get the engines out, because it seems like people have been using it, or at least developing against it, and it was doing okay. But I was worried because the tests aren't passing, so I didn't want to release anything until that flips over. Oh, did we want to talk some about I know one of the goals we'd had that I think I'd signed up for was scheduling notebooks. And I know what that scope means for Netflix, but I think for nteract project, maybe people had ideas about what they wanted to have as part of that sort of objective with nteract, what they want to see in the open source project around it.
Yeah, so I think for us it should mean, and so I'm saying us interact. It should mean that we provide a way to do, we can provide the scheduling UI and build up some of the components, as well as I love that you're going on a walk now. As well as
I got kicked out of my room, sorry.
a new API endpoint on the Jupyter server for scheduling. So we figure out what that API is going to look like, and then also provide a UI layer for it. And yeah. And then somehow we're going to have to abstract the scheduling, because most of it's going to be kind of presentational. We're going to present, you want to be able to know what the last scheduled version of this notebook is. Mm-hmm. And I think we can state our invariants, the same ones we've talked about before, which is that, we're on a namespace, and, because of how the file system stuff works for Jupyter, and we're kind of tied to it at the moment, we associate it to a namespace. But if there's different ground truth, like the schedule is actually an ID, then it means that we have to have some way of mapping between, if something's running on, so for instance, for us on Meson with an ID, then we need to somehow be able to map from the current path to what that ID workflow is.
Yeah, I need some sort of abstraction to give you some semblance of referential integrity.
Yeah. So in the last couple of weeks, I think we've put together project areas. So at least we're trying the Kanban style of it, since some of these things are very like cross project. It's like it doesn't all belong in the monorepo, it doesn't all belong in Papermill. Yeah, I think the one for scheduling is up. There's probably just nothing in it yet. Oh yeah, no, it doesn't even have columns.
Yeah, not yet. That's what I want to kind of get a sense from people, and then I could start filling in some.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that now. Do you want to share screen and jump to, looks like it's project number 9.
Sure, I can pull it up. Let me get to the link.
And I'm gonna add more linked repositories for it. Papermill link. Link. I just realized Papermill and Bookstore have the same emoji used. Dang it.
Let me see how the screen share works.
Okay. Oh right, yeah, and the roadmap doc.
Yeah, I think that's the right place to start. Because we had notebook scheduling. We kind of had like the milestone around Papermill 1.0, which was already kind of outlined before we made this, so it was pretty easy. And then we had this easy what we kind of want to start talking about. And then I think there's another section that has the columns. In-app via API. Let me zoom in a little. There we go. So some things we had in here, we were saying basically in-app is we need to, actually the via the API is probably a better place to start. We wanted to talk some things we were saying there was we need the reference to the source notebook. We wanted to have the namespace attributes associated with schedule. And this includes things like the schedule ID, parent IDs, and then we also would want to make a API contract. And then the in-app things we want to kind of be able to focus on. And I can organize these a little better later and give them links to issues. But in-app, we were talking about having, well, we need some idea of a button or interface. And then we would want the, we want to understand like which projects, which, if I can type. And that can give us a starting place so we could start having conversation. The other people have inputs or thoughts on this space while we're kind of focusing on it beyond that.
No, I think that's good. And then I think we can at the very least before we make issues, we can even just make those cards on the projects.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm happy to add in.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
And then people can start prototyping mocks of what they would hope to see, or even I think you and I can probably create what the bare bones interface is going to be, like what you expect to edit. We started it off with some user-centric parts, but it was for the kind of publishing side, not the scheduling side, about being able to fill in like name and description and like top level tags, stuff that you're going to set at the notebook level. But that same area, that's the same kind of thing where, you know, you want to be able to pop in a drawer or some other way that we're going to show the schedule stuff for a notebook. So yeah, but I think we probably have to start mostly with the backend system for it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then
because the interface, we can set the basics and then follow up on the interface. And if the interface leads to, oh, we missed something, we have a place to put it.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe I'll start popping in ideas into the Slack channel as we start making a little progress on that front.
Cool. Are you comfortable with the project boards? I can set it up as Kanban for you. I was forcing everyone to do it live because I could.
I need to go to the link and go look at that. Actually, I'll stop sharing here for a second.
Oh, okay. If you want it. But I was like, I can guide you through it while you're touching it.
Oh, yeah, if you want to, sure, we can go do that. I actually don't know if I have the link to the project board.
So I put it in the Slack channel, but you can also go to github.com/nteract.
Oh, yeah, okay, there we are. Oh, right, we talked about doing this, but we hadn't done it yet, so I hadn't.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the meeting where we set this up. I remember us talking about doing this. Gotcha.
I think Chris created the project for you. Oh yeah, and so you can click preset there. Boom, and then you can just do to do. It's kind of nice because then it'll automatically flag issues for you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna grab all nteract and paper mill issues here.
I see.
You may not want it to automate these.
Yeah, I think we'll
other two you could automate.
What's that?
So the other two likely candidates, so the in progress versus done, you can automate. Because basically, yeah. So then I think in progress, pull requests here when approved by reviewer pending approval. When added to the project. Yeah, okay, so if you add it to the project, then it automatically becomes in progress. Yeah, that's good. If I'm interpreting that right, it means if you add it to the project, as in this thing, then, yeah, for newly added.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's try that. If I can always change it if it unexpectedly puts everything in the world here.
Because I think as long as you don't let everything go into to-do, anything you manually put in to-do will become part of this automatic life cycle. Yep. All
right, we'll try that out.
Oh, okay. Cool. We had some other kind of columns for you don't have to stick with these columns, but we created other columns for some of the other projects because it like made sense to kind of categorize talks that were going on.
I'll go look through them.
Yeah, I think the neatest one is probably the like scale the contributor community has some interesting top level ones. Oh, I just realized that one's private. We should probably make that public. Wow, Detlefs went to town. I wonder if he used the API.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here, so that's cool.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make sure that one's public. So the annoying thing is when you create projects, they're by default private. Maybe that makes sense, but for like an open source project, it was like, can you just default this for me? There, I'm gonna make that one public. Save. This is the kind of thing where like it's easy for us to, for things like this where we want people to jump in to be able to help finish the job of this overall effort, that we could probably get other external contributors.
I'll probably move the paper mill 1.0 in here just because it's a little easier to get visibility. Right now, it's like me remembering to click check boxes and add comments to that issue.
Yeah. I think what's been interesting is these themes have been like digestible by other orgs and companies and stuff. So they're like, oh, okay, I see what you're aiming at here. Versus like, oh, hey, here's our issue that outlines all the stuff. It seems more scattershot, and they've liked this kind of like cohesive roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we feel comfortable when we're organizing on a project, as long as folks feel productive.
All right. Yeah, these are handy. I haven't actually used these in GitHub very much, so.
Yeah, you can do them at the repo level too, which is nice. I've been happy about this org level since there's so much that's like.
No, I think it's good having the org level to put stuff because sometimes it gives visibility in other projects neighboring to you.
Yeah. Let's see. Carol, thank you so much for adding notes. I like trying to.
Pleasure.
Yeah. I don't want you to have to do all the notes, so I should make sure to opt other people in. And usually myself too.
I was actually doing it because I couldn't find a whole bunch of stuff before the call, so.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're gonna keep this one as our canonical. And then that one will be set. Great. There we go. And we're using blueprint.js. It's like in the repo properly. And Elijah is now switching over the Data Explorer to use it.
You guys can just watch me click around and explore all the projects we have while you're talking. Don't worry about me.
I mean, I could talk about each of those too, but I'm now trying to like milk Elijah for a demo. Elijah,
he's been getting more involved.
The Data Explorer with the blueprint stuff.
There's not much. I mean, this is not a dramatic change. We have some buttons that look different. Let me see. I can demo something though.
I'll stop sharing.
Let's see.
Yeah, sorry for the conflicts with the linting stuff. I recently changed the ESLint setup, so I saw you hit some problems on.
Yeah, the import.
Sorry.
The import order rule is not my favorite rule, but like I was saying, it's fixable, so it's not such a big deal. Like it'll. Yeah. Let's see if I can get nteract running. You know how this project is. All right.
Well, that reminds me. Finally, we don't have to deal with Canvas anymore, thanks to Lucas turning that into a totally roll-up thing.
That's cool.
Vega gets turned into one JS file.
All right.
We're hitting a bit of issues with that because somehow rollup changes has cyclic dependencies and stuff. So there's still one manual like renaming to be done. So that's why we cannot like minify it. So Babel can digest it, but it's now one big file, but at least better than before.
So the only big change that's happening. Oh, you know what? This isn't going to help because I'm not on the right branch. Look at that. Hold on a second. Let me get back.
Demo problems.
I'm starting another branch, Kyle, where I was going to go and.
Any warning? Although I do this every time to people, so eventually people will go, you know, Kyle's going to make me demo what I worked on last week.
There has to be something else to talk about while I'm rebuilding and trying to set this up, right? It's a big project. There's got to be a lot more going on than this.
This is why we need we got to put the Data Explorer on the docs page, because then you have to build the rest of the stuff. You just
I'll tell you something. Here's something that I would really love is I would love to have some way and I should probably put this as an issue, but to be able to deep link to a running Data Explorer notebook. And I know I've been talking to Kyle about this, but for internal purposes. But also for external purposes. Like I can't think of some way to sort of show somebody how to act, what this thing actually is without them being at least somewhat invested in the nteract project. And I'd love to just be able to sort of point them at something. If that makes sense, or do I sound?
Totally makes sense. Yeah. On our end, we need to put it on Commuter so you could just link to one of your notebooks, because Personal Commuter is not up to date.
All right.
I've been making other changes to Commuter, so we could get that in.
So pretty much the same thing. The only difference is down here we've got a little bit better buttons that pop up and
hey, look at that.
And let you adjust things.
Especially if you
I've also been trying to add a few nicer touches like icons and stuff within the actual selectors and stuff. The only other thing that's here, and you can't see it here, because there's not enough data here. But what I was doing, my main purpose actually was to update this. So now if you put in more than 1,000 data points, it'll render it in Canvas, but you'll still get interactivity. So you can do sort of like the diamonds data set or anything like that, which was something that people had mentioned. They still wanted to have massive amounts of data for their scatter plots. But yeah, otherwise it's just this is this Blueprint select stuff.
Are the icons you're using there from Blueprint?
No, unfortunately, Blueprint has a great selection of analytical icons, but none of the ones that I wanted. So I made these up, and we'll probably.
Oh, okay. I immediately saw the health life expectancy one and thought it was like an enter key.
Yeah, well,
and then it was like, wait, what's the family one? And I was like, oh, that's the axis.
Yeah, no, I can adjust.
Actually, I really like that.
I like
it. Saw it and I was like, oh, is that pointing? Oh, there's two of them. Okay, I get it right away. But maybe I'm a data viz nerd, so it's cool to see that.
Well, I like it too, but I think if you took off the vertical line on the health line life expectancy, it would make it more clear that it's X versus Y. Same thing on the family.
So just have a horizontal line and just a vertical line. Don't have the corresponding other line. Does that make sense? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, or turn it into like an axis. So you have the 4 lines, and then you have the 1 arrow.
So like little ticks on it. Anyway, but rather than trying to discuss the visual look of this, if you guys have ideas and post little images in the Slack, that would be wonderful. Or on an issue in GitHub, whatever works for you.
And you have an open PR for this too, so.
That's right.
You guys every time you make a PR where you put in the visual stuff as part of the PR, eventually like 200 people respond anyways. So
right. Well, I didn't want to abuse that power because I mean literally like this isn't very much change. I just wanted to get to understand Blueprint's model a little bit more, and try to make that work. So yeah.
It looks nice though.
It does look nice. I think it looks better. It's funny, this thing that they do here, this is like their code formatting, but I kind of liked how it looked as a header. I don't know. So what I'm trying to say is I made some choices. I'm not sure that they're the best choices, and I'm happy to hear feedback for them. But otherwise, yeah, that's the only big change, is the look and feel of those buttons. As Kyle said, there's an open PR. Feel free to comment on it, and otherwise, just feel free to send me ideas.
So that's number 3484, and I'll put a link in the meeting minutes. Cool. So we're about out of time. That was it. So thanks everybody. Does anybody else have anything? Oh, Detlefs, we gave you lots of props before you joined the call.
Thank you. It's good to. I was in a sprint planning meeting, so I couldn't come, but happy to help wherever I can. Really nervous about to talk tomorrow.
You'll do well.
You'll be great, John. Channel calm.
I personally, I would try to practice in front of like record yourself giving the talk.
Yeah.
You can always record the talk, and then we could post it to the YouTube channel for Nteract too.
Oh God, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna do it.
Widely public.
I think I'm gonna practice with my girlfriend and not include you guys. Just y'all. Just yet. Sorry. I'm just gonna focus on. I want to give a little bit of a history of data science platforms in general, and how Nteract and the notebook have kind of bridged the gap between technical and non-technical end users, both interacting with the same platform. And just want to focus on how Nteract is trying to broaden the audience for notebooks and other like data analytics tools, and just share the roadmap for the future.
Sounds excellent.
I'd be happy to, John, I don't know when this talk is, but I'd love to see what you're working on, because I'm giving a talk at the end of November also that touches on sort of the role and the effect of notebooks on data visualization particularly, but just this idea that notebooks as sort of a mode are. Honestly,
if you could help me out, I'd love to talk to you for like 30 minutes today.
Absolutely. Yeah, just put some time on, or just, ping me on the Slack and we can set up some time.
All right.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, and John's talk is tomorrow in Austin. So
that's soon.
It's very soon.
I knew I should have done more research and started working sooner, but I'm a human being, and I think procrastination is normal.
I know, that's why
I've already written 2 versions of my keynote, John.
But don't.
Not all of us
I always do
like
the exact same thing. It's like the night before, and I'm like, I should edit my slides and actually make sure they're right.
Y'all saw what John procrastinated with. First, he finished the refactor of the Interactive website.
Oh, this is great procrastination.
Then he converted over one of our packages to TypeScript and figured out how we're going to kind of bridge switching type systems. Yeah, I think it's great. I think John should have more talks to procrastinate on things so he gets the other work done.
Kyle, we can get into this at a later time, but I think we should put it on folks' radar that we're talking about putting semiotic into the Interact org and just what that means and whether that's...
Oh,
I'd be really interested in working on typing those packages as well, and just building out TypeScript packages for everything Interact does, because something about it is therapeutic for me, to be honest.
Sweet.
It's less stressful than building features,
It does give you kind of like a green check mark once things pass. So
yeah, there's some dopamine release for that. That just makes me really happy.
Yeah. So on the semiotic thing, I suggested to Elijah that we move semiotic into Nteract itself, which is the data viz package that backs Data Explorer, all React components. And I suggested this because Elijah needed he was like, dealing with Circle CI and other things. It was either make a semiotic org or just move it into Nteract itself. Yeah. What do folks think?
The more the merrier.
Excellent.
We can probably get into a more detailed discussion once there's actual details.
There may also not. I mean,
but that's what made me think of it was John's work with shifting things over to TypeScript, and it made me realize I'm going to have to shift everything in semiotic from Flow to TypeScript.
I mean, you're fine on Flow right now. The reason we switched, or that we want to switch, is that several of the projects we're using are backed by TypeScript, and the Flow definitions are not up to date. We end up being the ones maintaining it. We're like, are we like the last holdouts?
Yeah.
And that would be RxJS, Redux Observable, now Blueprint, And like,
no, I just think TypeScript is more popular, and it makes more sense for us to invest in TypeScript. So, you know,
I've also had just days where I spent like hours trying to figure out why my Flow server wasn't responding. So it's the developer experience is just not as good as TypeScript.
Yep. And that's only gotten worse over the years. It used to, I mean, like, it's still really good. There's some things like as I've watched the conversion and stuff, I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Like Flow was detecting how like what the types would be and stuff. Whereas TypeScript, you have to like annotate almost everything. At least look at it.
But I think the big pain is the missing definitions for stuff like RxJS and or Redux observables or even Redux itself. Because I think missing definitions is not a necessarily bad thing, but wrong definitions are even worse, and there's so many out there. So
yeah, Lucas went through killing off all the bad stuff so we could upgrade RxJS. Now we're upgraded.
Eventually, when we move everything to TypeScript, I think there's going to have to be some sort of like centralized management of types, right? Like we have to have some sort of types package.
Can't you just include it in the, like you do in the package.json with a main field and then the types field, or isn't that working?
Actually, I think I might not be fully informed, and I can talk about this some other time.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool.
No, it's okay.
We're out of time,
yeah.
So I'll go ahead and cut us all off, and then we can continue talking about this on the Slack and other channels. And yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks. Bye.